What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben. I am the founder of Goalink, a goal-setting community providing growth junkies, which I hope is every single person listening right now we're providing you with weekly challenges to avoid complacency. So if you're looking to grow and develop on a consistent basis, you're in the right place. These challenges are inspired by brands across the world to bring you new ways to improve yourself on a weekly basis. So you can kick back, you can chill, and you can watch me take on these challenges, or you can join me. I challenge every listener to complete these weekly goals. Catch the content on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at Goalink Group. The Goalink Show, this podcast, recounts experiences from the achievers of the world, but not just the success. We delve into the challenges and the struggle. The true struggle that we all face. How do we find the will to push through it? What role do motivation, discipline, failure, risk, what do these things play in our lives? Let's talk about the process, the pain, and not just the result, and the inspiration to get through it. We discuss this and much more in the show. Thanks for tuning in. This week, we have my awesome friend, Hope Brooks, on the show. Man, this convo is packed with gems, and I'm stoked for you to listen to it. She spent 16 years in an automotive plant. She's a mom. She's an investor, a yogi. And trust me, I've been super impressed with her finance and investment knowledge. Like, really, everyone needs to peep this, what she's about to say. She's had a really tough upbringing as a kid. Like, really tough. Just wait and listen. Like, it's crazy. I'm very, very grateful for the loving family that I grew up in. We talk about the importance of building relationships along the way and how they can help you. The importance of taking risks and trusting that everything will work out. She says happiness is a choice, which I agree with. And we, of course, talk about her fitness journey and how important fitness is in general, which I also agree with. So everyone, tune in, listen, get stoked. Let's go. Oh, before we get into it, there is actually one more thing. If you hear some noise, like mechanical noises in the background, and it sounds like Darth Vader breathing, it's because we're doing some leg, like boot chamber compression therapy while recording this podcast. So, just FYI, if you are thinking, why is that sound in the background? Anyway, that's what's up. Now let's get into it. Should we roll?
I'm ready.
Should we just do it?
Let's do this.
All right, Hope. Welcome to the Goalink Show. How the hell are you?
I'm fabulous. Fabulous.
So, if you're watching, this is a bit of an... I don't even know. It's probably an unordinary view, but Hope, can you explain? So, we're at Frigid Cryo in Greenville, South Carolina. So, and these are what techs? Normatec?
Normatec boots. They're compressed air like a blood pressure cuff.
Okay.
And it helps improve circulation, helps the lymphatic system rid yourself of any excess fluids and things like that. It's just a little assistant to your body.
That's
and
awesome.
It also actually helps cellulite, I've learned recently.
Really?
So ladies would love that, who obsess over it.
Yeah, this is cool. Like, this is like my ideal situation to be having a meaningful conversation and like getting health benefits all at the same time.
And for me, I do this twice a week.
You do it twice a week?
Twice a week. I chill twice a week, and I do Normatec twice a week. And it's like recovery from all the squats and all the lunges and all the yoga and all the heat and all the fatigue of the muscles. So it helps you recover. And I feel the best I felt ever. When I'm doing this, I go home. I sleep better at night when I do this.
Really?
I've learned, yes. I get a little more energy when I do the chamber and do a full body chill, but then I take more rest after I've done this.
I like that.
Yeah, it's nice.
So, well, let's get into all the things that you do. So, currently, Hope Brooks, what is everything that you do currently?
So I work for a corporation, and we do maintenance and asset management projects. So that means our entire company is focused on making sure your assets that build your cars, your car parts, your food manufacturing facilities are in their regulatory compliance, and that the machines are running to their optimum capacity. And that includes training people.
Still?
Yes, I work from home. The company is global. We have offices in Poland. We just opened a new office in Europe. We have Indianapolis, Indiana, as well as Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you're a yoga teacher.
Yep. So I teach yoga in Greenville at Southern Ohm. I also do events all over town, which I love. Continuing to expand that. I do some corporate one-on-one style yoga as well.
That's so cool. When was the last time you did like corporate, like you'll go to an office and teach like people yoga?
Yes. And that's something very new. So I've only done a couple of those classes.
I like that.
But I feel like it's a niche we're missing in this market because there are a lot of people that can't leave their jobs and come to one of my noon classes. And for them, if the one company that's talking strongly with me is wanting to do this at the end of the day. So they're thinking, hey, let's throw in a 4:15, a 4:30 class. Like people can take the class and go home. And it also reduces, from what I understand, if you're a healthcare provider company and you have a healthcare plan that you provide to your employees, that can subsequently reduce your costs and premiums. So that's an evolving part right there for me.
That is cool. And then what else do you do? Because there's more.
Okay, so I'm a mom of 2. I have a son that's 10, a daughter that is 7. They're in the other room. I have a real estate investment, so I'm a principal in a real estate company that buys, sells, flips, invests in multiple complex style properties as well. I've bought and sold 3. I'm in my 4th house right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
In 20 years of living here.
So yeah, I think let's jump into that, because one thing that I've been really impressed by you as I've gotten to know you more and more is the financial literacy that you have. Because I feel like, tell me if I'm wrong, right? But typically, I don't see a lot of women, especially moms, that are well-versed in that area.
It's something I've learned over my lifetime. When I was 18, I had been working for 2.5 years as a waitress, and I used to stash money in like my sock drawer because I didn't have a bank account then. And then when I turned 18, graduated high school, opened up my first savings account. Thought, okay, I'm going to open up a checking, a savings, and do all the things they tell me to do. And then I got roped into, well, you have to build credit. You know that talk. Yeah. You have to build credit, so get a credit card. And the only places they'll give credit cards to people who don't have credit are like 30% interest.
Believe
and it's
me,
like
I know.
Jewelry stores, like jewelry stores. So my first credit card was a jewelry store, and then had some rough patches with work. And took on
a jewelry store to buy jewelry?
Yeah, like a jewelry store, like random. Like American Express wasn't going to give me a card at 18.
Yeah.
So it was like, hey, we'll give you a $500 limit. So I bought a piece of jewelry, like a necklace, and that was my first purchase on a credit card.
That's cool.
That's insane. And kind of built that up so I could start my credit journey, since it's kind of a requirement. Then had some very serious financial troubles. Had a car, a credit card, and ended up losing my car because I was out of work.
So it was repossessed?
No, somebody has stolen it.
Oh, somebody stole your
Somebody
car.
stole my car. I lost one of my 2 jobs. The repair of the car when they found it was exorbitant because they decided to fix it. And it put me in a hole financially that I was not prepared for by then at 19 and a half. So then I switched jobs. I started, continued working in automotive, picked up a second job, and said, I'm never going to be in a situation where I can't pay for my stuff. Like, that was it for me. And it was a struggle for me because eventually I lost that car. They did repossess it. Started out just being like, I'm struggling financially. But
so it was stolen, you got it back.
Yeah.
And then it was repossessed.
The guy had driven into a median guardrail.
And left it?
They found it in a ditch.
That's
and
crazy.
Instead of the State Farm Insurance Company covering the loss, they covered the claim. And that was my very first experience with a claim. That's a whole nother story. But if you're that young and you don't have funds and you're on your own, I was living on my own since I got out of high school. And you don't know. You just don't know. And then eventually it was just too much. So they took that car and I went and bought a really cheap old beater for like nothing, for cheap, and financed it with a ridiculous rate. And at that point I said, never again. Never again. So I worried and focused more on how do I put money away? How do I make myself live, spend when I can, and save?
That's awesome. So what would you say to people? I'm not even sure if it's women, it could be girls, but is anyone in general about money?
I think everyone right now, I don't care their age, needs to have the basics in financial. I believe it should start in like 5th, 6th grade. I think we're not training young people, children, adolescents, and teens, the principles that I didn't learn until I was, 20, 25, 30. I feel like that should be what we're teaching when it comes to mathematics and to life.
So that's the thing. I've thought about this, and I completely agree. How do we make kids care? Like, do we just make it fun and more entertaining and use cartoons, or like, hey, your favorite rapper or this actor like teaches it or something? Like, how do you incorporate that to make them actually learn the lesson? Because
at my house, they learn, they get allowance money.
Okay.
Or they earn tablet time, so that they don't always earn money from me. Their work in our household, what my 2 children contribute, becomes whether it's tablet time is currency to them.
Okay.
But then they want money to buy like some insane toy, which is insane for me, even $10, because in a year we're not going to know what that toy was, where it even is. Probably it's probably going to be lost or broken. So that's just, for me, that's just wasting money. So I teach them, I'm like, if you're going to spend, if you have $10 to spend, try to save 3 to 5 of that 10. And I learned that in my 20s. So after the car situation, I rebounded from that. I set out a goal to just put $5 a week away. I ate bag lunches in my car at work.
Isn't that crazy? So you were in your 20s.
Yeah.
And man, $5 a week right now, like, I'm thinking like that is absolutely nothing, but it's something.
Yes.
And that's what's important. Even if you're saving 50 cents, it doesn't matter, because it's the concept that you're learning.
Right.
And then eventually that 50 turns to $1, $2, $4, $8, 16, right. 32, at 64. And then it just keeps doubling and compounding.
And I went back to a principle that I scoffed at when I was 16, 17, 18, 19, that my grandfather said, if you don't have the money in the bank to buy it, even if you have credit, don't buy it. Mm-hmm. And I don't think anyone really thinks that way anymore, because credit is so the way the world works.
It's true.
That we don't think we need to have cash available. Now, you don't want to be too cash heavy. So there's a fine balance with that.
Because I know you have like cash to invest, but do you leverage any debt, like for real estate or anything?
I'm not right now. The only real estate debt I have right now is the house I have right this moment.
But you have.
But I have actually owned 2 different dwellings at one time.
Dwellings, yeah. Like to use other people's money instead of yours, like,
right?
Why not? Like to make money, at least. That's what I'm saying. Like,
right.
Not spend money, but to make money.
Right, because the goal is to have. Everybody says you need 3 months of, like, a financial person will tell you, hey, Ben, you need 3 months of savings to cover all of your bills. And that's total bullshit. You probably need 9 months. Because they don't know what's going to really happen. They don't know if the gas price, we'll go back to 2004 or 5 when Katrina came through. We saw gas prices back then at 97 cents a gallon. And in 24 hours, it went to $3.75 a gallon. And people were like fighting over the next tank of gas because they were afraid it was going to continue to go up. So if your budget is tight and you only need, say you need $3,000 a month, 3 months might not last long, because we might have a crisis or something else might happen. You need tires on your car. It breaks down, but you still need to look for a job and go where you need to go. Like everything, we don't think about the contingency. We also don't think about, if we did lose that job, are we able to give up the things we love? I like to eat out because I don't like to cook. I don't really want to give it up. I would have to cut it dramatically down if I wasn't, having a strong income. But I think this is where, in America in particular, we should really look at the young people and say, are we training them to learn these lessons in high school and college, or even middle school, high school, college, so they understand that track and they don't rely on someone else, a parent, a grandparent, a trust fund. That's great if you have it. But like, what's going to happen when that runs out? Ask anybody that, like me, that lived through 2008 and had 401k.
It's going to happen again, like sometime. Yes. It happens. That's the world. It's the wave. It's the cycle. It happens.
And the thing I've thought a lot about in the last months, is kind of like yoga. So yoga is a practice, right? There's no end. It's just a practice. Your practice is going to look different every day, every week, years of your life, seasons of your life. The same thing with your goals and what you're going through in life. There really isn't an end. It isn't like you might have things you want to do. Like we want to do this podcast. So we made time and we're here and we're doing this. But that might be something else. There is no real end. It continues to be a practice. And that's something we don't talk about either in our young life. So we are still, if somebody had told me this when I was 21 and making good money and having great benefits and very low on debt by then and kind of turning my life around, it would have been monumental to me versus learning it when I was 26, 29. I put myself through college at 25. I decided I just needed a college degree because I knew to move forward in corporations, you have to have this.
Yep.
I'm not I love school kind of person. So that was hard. But then I said, how much is this going to cost? And I leveraged every extra dollar I didn't need to spend on bills. And basically, I worked, I slept, I studied, and I attended class for 4.5 years while I worked full-time at BMW, probably 6 days a week, 3 out of every 4 weeks.
That's crazy.
10-hour shifts. And I made it happen. And I left school, and I'd gotten 2 student loans, one subsidized, one unsubsidized. And I paid one off the last quarter I was in school semester and then paid the final one off the month I left.
What school did you go to?
I actually moved here and in 26 years old, I started at USC Upstate.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I love what you just talked about there is no end. And I think that can almost get depressing if you let it, right? Because if you think of there is no end, it's always a practice. There is that scary side of it, but to me, it's the freeing side of it. Like you have to flip it. Like like it's relieving because there is no like, I'm successful now, or I'm the man now, or I have enough money now, or I'm a master at yoga now. It doesn't matter what it is. Like it's ongoing, but that's what's like, it's a release. It's freeing to know that.
And it's freeing to know that with those steps forward, you're always going to have some side steps, maybe a back step. And it's how you handle that. And that's something I didn't learn until much later in life, probably in the last 5 to 7 years, to really understand how to handle that. And every challenge is different. So sometimes we don't know how to react to a challenge that doesn't look like other challenges. And so it's how can we put it in a context that at least aligns with how we want to respond, but which is really the only thing we can control. We can't control what's going to happen next. Because there are so many factors in life that don't have anything to do with us.
Have you read the book, The Untethered Soul?
No, it is on my list.
Yeah, so I'm listening to it right now. And what I listened to this morning, it was talking about happiness is not conditional. And it was literally talking about, because I used to live this way, like before I moved to Greenville. And then life has given me the hardest test I've had to go through. But I asked for it. I went into it, right? But I used to think just like happiness is a choice. It doesn't matter. You can just do it. And this book is talking about that, right? Like it's not, what does it say? Oh man, this is really cool. Like it's not this is kind of said all over the place. Like it's not the event that's making us unhappy. It's not the situation. It's our reaction to it, right? Like we're trying to control it. We're, what some people say, like what you resist persists.
Yes.
Instead of just letting it flow through, because it's going to continue to flow through. And it's like letting it man, like you can just say it, but it's so hard to do.
Yeah.
To just be happy. Like I get it. I used to think that way, but until you really go down and you mess with those demons, like I think like it's okay. And I think everyone should go through that. And while I was listening to that book this morning, I'm like, but it's so hard, but I know it's true.
And that's the thing. We don't talk about the hard. we talk about what looks nice on Instagram.
Yes.
We don't talk about that it's hard to get there. No one would know that I had a car repossessed at 19. No one would know that I slept on somebody's couch in between trying to find a place to live.
Let's
and
talk about
that guy had like bugs in his house, but I made it 2 weeks there, and it got me into a place where I could rent. And it was a dumpy, crappy trailer in a terrible part of town.
Let's delve into that, because that's what I love talking about. That's what I love having this podcast delve into, is the stuff that you don't usually talk about, and we breeze over it sometimes, right? Like,
right.
Yeah, life was hard and I did this, but now look at me. But I really like kind of just pausing, so everyone knows that we're the same and there's tough times. So tell me the story of how you had to live on some guy's couch in a trailer with bugs.
Yeah. So at that stage in my life, I was back and forth between Columbia, South Carolina, and here.
Okay.
And that was so I could get a job at BMW, because you had to be within 50 miles. And the people I was renting a room from abruptly told me that I couldn't rent that room anymore. And like, you have to get out today. And I had a part-time job here and a full-time job in Columbia. And I'm back and forth. And so I needed somewhere to stay and on weekends for this job. And the security guard was like, "Hey, you can sleep on my couch." And I'm like, "Well, he's a little creepy, but okay, I'll take it."
Like, were you just talking to him?
Yeah, he was like, I was like, "I'm in this quandary and I don't know what I'm going to do." And, I slept in my car one night, and he was like, "No," he says, "you can sleep. I don't have an extra room, but I got a couch." And I was like, "I'll take it. I'll take it, man. I don't care." Huh. And that's kind of how that worked. And I stayed for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
And then found this dumpy trailer in a trailer park. Never stayed in a trailer in my entire life, but it was what I could afford. And it was $300-something a month. And eventually I left that and got a real apartment, which was like, wow, that's an upgrade. Like, you live in a super nice apartment. There's a lot of super nice apartments here. My apartment wasn't even, super nice.
I'm fortunate. It's
like,
nice.
Mine wasn't, but it was nice for me. But it even goes back to as a child. I grew up in Kokomo, Indiana, and lived a very suburban, leave it to beaver life.
What city in Indiana?
Kokomo.
Yeah. But it's not the Beach Boys song.
No, Beach Boys.
Yeah.
Named after Chief Kokomoko.
Okay.
Yeah. An automotive town built around the Chrysler plant where my whole family worked. And my mother is from South Carolina. So we had a lake house outside Columbia at Lake Murray that was my grandparents'. We spent every summer there. And one night she wakes us up and tells us we're leaving and we're never coming back to Kokomo. So we moved from a 2,000 square foot split level home. Everybody had their own space, bedrooms and all that, to a 930 square foot house with like 2 very small bathrooms and not enough bedrooms. And I slept on a couch for 3 years.
Really? How old were you when you moved?
I was 10. So I started 5th grade here.
When you're a 10-year-old, does that, like, do you realize what's happening? That, like, I went from my own bedroom and stuff to a couch. Like, was it worse? Like, did it affect you mentally and emotionally?
It was horrible. It was horrible. And then with my mom, it was a subsequent divorce of my dad 2 years later. And she moved on to her third husband. And that became an environment I grew up in. That could be its own podcast. Lots of alcohol abuse, a little bit of abandonment where she would leave and then come back. Sometimes she'd take a vacation and we'd find out she's in Florida because she would call us on the landline that we had. And we would not be equipped with like food or a babysitter or a car because we were too young to drive. I mean, I was like 12, 13, 14 years old. And I saw a lot of police action because of
your house?
Yeah, because of the abuse between she and her husband at the time. Nothing I would wish on anyone to ever see. And it just kind of set me up for, I didn't know where I was going in life. And that was my issue, was I had no guidance, no real trajectory, no path. I was just kind of wherever I could be, I was.
So I didn't grow up like that. You know, I had a loving home and mom. Like, my parents were divorced when I was young. But, like, when you're, because I truly want to learn from this experience. Like, can you remember your thoughts as a kid when that was happening?
Oh, most people who don't know me well don't know this, but I am a very emotional person. Everything I touch and am connected to, I am empathic, emotional. I love what I do when I'm doing something, or I'm not going to do it. And if it's something that hurts and it's painful, then it's deeply painful for me. And it was very hard to watch, like, your mom get carried on a stretcher, or have to watch the husband so wasted that he's stumbling and falling and police taking him away, and just feeling like there was no love and stability. And for a while, I was a complete train wreck. I drank too much in high school in my older years. I drank too much when I got out. I trusted everybody. Wrong. Don't trust everybody.
But do you think you probably did trust everyone because you just wanted acceptance? Like, you didn't have that growing up, right?
Mm-hmm, right. And my sister and I didn't. I have a sister, and we didn't get along. She just doesn't like anybody. That's just who she is. She don't like anybody, not even me. So I had nobody to lean on. So as long as you were nice to me, we're friends. And now I know this, not then, that it was just, I wanted to be with people who were be happy and be around me and that kind of stuff. And it wasn't always a good environment. You know, I made terrible choices. Way too young.
But like, what else? That's the thing. Like, you didn't see any good decisions.
The best decision I made was work. I have the best work ethic.
Right.
Like, I was a waitress. That was my very first job.
You definitely have.
And
you're a hustler, Hope.
I killed it as a waitress. I remember my senior year, the lunchtime waitress had a situation happen and couldn't come to work, so they called and asked if I would cover the shift. I ended up covering my shift in the evening and her shift all 2 weeks of the Christmas break that year. And I made a bundle of money. It was fantastic.
Did you like love working initially, or
Yes.
was it a distraction?
No, I loved it because I liked being around people. So waitressing was even better. It was fantastic.
And then you made money, so why not?
And I made money. And then I went to automotive, kind of like my whole family did, and made money. I welded wheel covers and ran rivet machines and worked in assembly. And
so was that at BMW?
no, this was at a place at the time called Thompson International. They made wheel covers for GM.
So you're
Chrysler,
doing manual
Ford.
work.
Oh, manual assembly labor with machines.
How old were you?
19.
Hope you've done a ton of crap.
And it was being in a plant on second shift and it being 117 degrees in South Carolina inside that plant that eventually I said, I believe I need to get a degree because I think I'm going to be in one of those offices one day. I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I just did it. And I went through college, ended up being the best experience of my life. Now, I was a non-traditional student, clearly, because I worked full time.
Yeah, me too.
But I loved the mental exploration that was and the challenge that it was for me and the people and the professors. And like, I fed off of them. That energy was so contagious for me, and it made me a better worker. And it changed my perspective. I actually went from being a planner at a company, which is like office job, to back online to take a job at BMW. Back then, they used to make you do this rim test. So they'd put 9 rims on a board on pegs, and you had to take a manual, what's the tire?
I have no idea.
I don't know. When you take your lug nut loosener, when you take your tire off.
Oh, the jack?
When you actually take the tire lug nuts off, it's the little plus that fits over it.
Yeah.
You had to do it manually with a plus, not with a rivet gun or a machine gun, not an air gun. So we had to do it in a time.
That was an interview thing?
That was part of the interview.
That's funny.
It was absurd. And I killed it. Me and some dude finished right at the same time.
So you did it with other people?
Yeah, you were in a room with 6 other people, I think.
And they said just go as fast as
And they
you
were
can.
like, no, you had to read and follow the instructions. Each line, and you had to go one at a time through the line. And you had to finish it in under a certain time or you were kicked out of the interview program.
Man, I hope you've done so many different things. Is there anything that stands out right now? I know the process is the process, right? But is there anything that stands out or a couple experiences that have really shaped you or challenges that you're grateful for?
I think leaving BMW was probably one of the biggest times for me.
And how long were you there?
I was there 5 years.
So 5 years, a long time.
It was going to be my end-all, be-all, I thought.
Because you started... So were you... But you were in the office at this point or no?
Oh, yeah. I was a master planner.
Right. Yeah. So the master planner.
So I represented paint shop. And then I represented the paint shop for our master plan of scheduling how we were going to do rotating shifts. So like the shifts that they work now, I helped build the first model.
Okay, cool.
Of that.
And so why'd you leave?
Because they told me I had to be a production supervisor.
What does that mean?
That means I had to supervise adults on a production line.
And you didn't want to?
And I didn't want, I don't want to babysit people. I love them. I love people who work hard and want to do that, and that's all they want to do. But that is a job that was not in my skill set, and I knew it. Like every part of me was like, no way. And they wanted to send me back to night shift. And at this point in my career, I was 30, 31. I was like, I can't do this. This is not where I want. I could have done it and just stuck with it and stayed with the system. And I was like, I'll take the buyout. And I left.
So why is it the best thing that you can remember?
Because it left me sitting on a floor crying over my decision for about a week.
So you quit and then you were just sad and crying for a week.
Right. It was the most, what am I going to do with my life? Did I make the wrong decision? Yeah, I had no idea. I was like, I don't know what I've done with my life. Did I make a wrong decision? Should I have just taken the package and stuck in the good old boy system and kept going? You know, where do I go from here? This was my end-all, be-all dream job. Mm-hmm. And then a couple people I knew were like, snap the hell out of it. And it took me a while. But about a month after I left, somebody said, hey, there's this contract job. You want to go do it? And I made more money contracting than I did working average hours pay at BMW. And I was like, this is brilliant. So that contracting job, while I was in it, an old colleague of mine that used to be BMW offered me this fantastic quality coordinator job at a tier 1 automotive supplier here. I'd never been deeply into quality, but it's all about process and audits and things. And I was like, sure. So I go over there and they give me more money than I've ever made, good benefits and health. And they're like, this is what we need. This is the model you're going to train on over in Europe. Mm-hmm. You bring it here and implement it, and you do it in any way you need to do it.
And is that what you're still doing?
No, that job gave me freedom I'd never had before. Yeah, so I could set my own schedule. So if I had to work nights to help people, I would do that. If I split shift, if I came in early and left at 2:00, it didn't matter as long as I was getting what we needed to get done. And that has morphed into literal jobs falling in my lap.
Okay, Hope, let's talk about this. So I've experienced that moving here. Like I got recruited and then I said, why not? Let's make the jump. You know, I know what my life looks like here. But there's a current phase that I'm going through, and I just had a conversation with an amazing person I talked to for the first time. Her name is Julia. And she said, what would you do if you couldn't fail? And it's funny because I remember, did you know I used to do music?
No, I didn't.
So back in the day, it was rap. We can talk about it after.
Love it.
But I remember I used to wrote a rap line like, "What would you do if you could not fail?" And that just hit me. I'm like, and that goes into the freedom and like jobs falling in your lap.
Yeah.
So tell me about like, why do you think that happens? Like, why quitting or facing your fears or doing things that you're afraid of and surrendering to the good things happen to you? Like, why is that happening?
I think sometimes it's the part about you don't know what's happening behind the next door you're going to open. And sometimes you have to take a chance. And it's not always going to work out well. So just let's put that out there. It will not always work out to be your dream job or your dream house or your dream anything. Mm-hmm. But sometimes that is a stepping stone. It's that practice. Because if you fell down when you opened the door because there was a step and you didn't know it, then you got back up. You didn't just lay there. But if there was no step and it was level and you stepped through it, you're like, oh, I got this. This is so easy. And if you don't know the difference, you have to at some point learn it, or you're going to either think everything's always hard or always easy. And that's just not life. But I think for me, that pivotal moment, my relationships were building over those years. And the more relationships I had with people of all levels and job descriptions and everything, from VPs down to just the maintenance supervisor or the person building the door panel, those relationships have opened doors for me that I didn't know would have ever existed. So if I hadn't taken the chance, I might not have known some of these people who ended up being the path to where I'm at now. So I went from, short version, 16 years in an automotive plant.
Yeah.
Steel-toed boots.
16 years.
16 years.
That's
so from
good amount of
really
time.
from 18 to 36. And I was in steel-toed boots and uniforms and all levels of work that I did there, from online and hands-on to planning and quality, to an office. And that office was my first experience outside of manufacturing. And then that opened another door where I met people through that job as business development manager, which led me to a career that I really love, which is I can take my knowledge of manufacturing and processes and quality and planning, and I can help someone else get from our company I'm with now what they need. And I'm doing it now from the behind my desk at my house. I walk downstairs in the morning and make my coffee and handle my kids. And then, of course, in between that, it's been, finding a fitness journey over the last 9 years and growing in that. That has become pivotal to me. Mm-hmm. It's not something I had before. So it was a lot of different things that happened. The real estate was, I wanted to buy a house because my dad said if you buy a house, you can deduct your interest and it's better than renting an apartment. So I did that, and then I sold that house, and then I did the next house, and
with your
so
equity
on.
and so
and
on.
I took my equity and I would flip it, and some of it I would save. And then it was meeting somebody at my church who equally loved trying to figure out how to make money off your money, and he loved real estate, and he was working to become a realtor and was with a corporation at the time, and said, I have this vision. And he tells me this vision. And the next thing I know, I'm investing in his company, and he's buying and flipping houses, and he's paying me 10% interest on my money.
Yeah, that's nice. For doing nothing.
Yeah.
Just for knowing him.
He couldn't get a business loan based on where he was.
Yeah.
So he found a few key investors that had some cash to invest. And that's just kind of how that journey came about. And from that, working with meeting more people like you, like Tim Pecoraro, there's so many people I could list. And just finding that path of where do we grow together? How do we support one another? And then how do we share this so somebody that's 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me, 20 years younger than me, somebody in high school, my almost 11-year-old, how do I help them maybe carve their path a little smoother and understand a little bit more about finances and what they're doing? And now I'm in the best place I've been in my entire life, emotionally, physically. And I'm the oldest I've been, of course, but it's just getting better.
That's cool. Well, side note, like, to give everyone a visual, like, we're on a couch, and so, like, my head was, like, turning at you, and I just realized, like, my neck is, like, already, like, kinked.
I want to lean back.
Should we lean back a little bit more?
Lean back a little further. We're in recliners. For anybody who can't see.
Oh, I like this. Here we go.
Oh, this is good.
And I'm not even going to look in your eye, but we're just going to talk.
This is great.
This is awesome.
I would, ultimately, I think it would be fantastic if I could create a program that would go into a school system and into community centers and places that teach children these values.
Is that your dream?
That would make me the happiest person on earth.
That's awesome.
Because then it's a process. It's really a process when it comes to money and finances and decisions there. As careers go, most people now are never going to just stay in the same job.
Nope.
And that's been, the average job for somebody is, 7 or 10 over their lifetime. Companies they go through,
now
jobs they
like
go
2.
through. Yeah. So it's like, don't be afraid to step out the box. Because if you do have a skill set that was working for you, you can always go back to it.
Yeah. Before, I want to talk about your fitness journey, but not quite yet. Because you mentioned how important relationships have been to you. And it's funny that you say that because I just realized that this week of how important, especially since I've been here, I've realized that of it doesn't matter what it is, but like my biggest wins, whether it's like professionally or in entrepreneur realm, starting my brand, like even like followers or views or money, all of it comes through relationships.
Yeah.
And like it's all encompassing too, because you're learning so much at the same time. And I think you need to be genuine. Like you're not just Like, if you're going into a relationship thinking, I'm going to get X, you're probably not going to get it, and you're going to be miserable because your expectation, and you're not doing it for the right reason.
Right.
But if you're genuine going into a relationship just to, like, give value and, like, learn from that person and have fun and learn to love that person or whatever, like, for real, like, I've had some major, we're talking about money and finance, I've had some major financial wins this year because of the relationships that I've reached out to and talked to people and asked them about themselves and listened.
Right.
You know?
And I found that, and it's funny because even before I left manufacturing, people would joke that I was the connection queen because I knew everybody. Now,
that helps.
Granted, not everybody likes me, but I would say the majority of people do. But there's always people that don't like your personality, and that's just life. But for the majority of the people, I always had good relationships. And that meant a lot to me. People would come to me and ask me, hey, where would I find this? Or who could I talk to about X? And I would say, oh, yeah, talk to Sue or Billy or Adam. And we would connect that. And I've just kind of expounded upon that as I've grown in my life and my career and my fitness journey. And just like Frigid here, I'm an ambassador for Frigid. I love doing this. This makes me feel good. And I love bringing people with me to chill. I think the first day I met you, I told you should come chill with me.
You did tell me that. We're not chilling in the cryo chamber, but we're chilling on a couch.
Yes.
Getting our legs.
But for me, I mean, these relationships have opened doors that I am for certain, had I not explored that, would not have been there for me.
Hope, how are you? Apologize for interrupting. How are you so? Again, I assume this is the process, right? And it's not just the snap of a finger, your fingers. How are you so? After a crazy childhood and growing up the way you did, how are you so happy?
Part of it, I guess, now is a choice.
Yes.
I mean, it is a choice.
I love it. That's an awesome answer.
But there's also the part where you have to love yourself even when you're not happy.
Ooh,
and that's
let's go
one of the
that.
hardest things. Even in my deepest, darkest day of sitting in the floor crying for not knowing if I made the right decision and just several things over my lifetime, my divorce, just being a mom, all these things that just break you down. It's kind of like breaking down your muscles when you lift weights.
Yes.
They come back stronger. So somehow for me, that's how that has worked. But you have to stop in that moment of despair. Somewhere in there, in you, in most people, there is a light. There is hope. And that's even in the worst day, week, month, half a day, 1 hour of your life, somewhere within that moment, you still know that's there. And you have to just touch it, know that it's there, even if it carries on for a little while. Your life is not going to stop because you're having a bad day or you're in a rough patch of your life. So you continue to get up and go, do your work and your networking and your fitness, and something of all that brings light back to you.
That's cool. I love that. And I'm learning right now, I used to say I never had bad days. I only had bad moments. But man, that can be that was just ignorance and I wouldn't say maybe not ignorance, but inexperience.
Yeah.
Because man, life can throw bad months, bad years.
Yeah.
I haven't had knock on wood, but hopefully I have the mindset and heart set and, soul set, spirit set that I won't experience a bad year because I'm willing to go through it and learn and evolve from that. But it's real, man. That hard stuff is real. It's not easy.
It's hard. And the best thing is to have a support system. And I would say my friends have been that for me. I've got friendships that go way back and they've been there for me. And there was times that nobody was there and I had to just work through it. And I can't really pinpoint one thing that got me through it.
It's all of it.
But I know that there has to be something better. And now I even more recently make a more cognizant effort to look at a struggle I'm in and say, can I react differently? Am I overreacting? I tend to overreact. I'm very animated and emotional and talk with my hands. But like, am I in this bad space because can I change it? If I can't change it, how do I stay with it until I come out the other side? It's like going through a car wash. Eventually you're going to come out the other side. You're not just going to stay in there forever. Somebody will get you out.
That's a good one.
You know? But I'm more aware of it now in the last, I'd say, year or two, that when I'm in that moment, can I learn something? Can I impact it? And then answering those questions decides what I do next.
That's cool. Well, let's jump into your fitness journey.
My fitness journey.
Side note, these things are really like crazy because I'm going on like the highest setting.
Yes. Isn't it awesome?
I can feel my legs just like pump.
7 is the highest setting on these Normatec boots, and I always do 7.
Yeah, it's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, fitness. So when did you, it wasn't too long ago, a few years ago?
Well, I started yoga in 2009. Is that right? 2010. So it's been 9 years.
Okay.
And then had 2 children. Was stuck with the weight. I'm not naturally a thin person. And I do like to eat. Yeah. Contrary to what people think, I eat a lot. I like to eat anything and everything. Food is good. So I finally broke down one day and tried MADabolic. And that was in February of 2017.
So what is MADabolic for the people who don't know?
MADabolic is a interval training program. And it is one of the most unique programs I've ever seen.
It's cool. So I assume it's a play on words of metabolic.
Right? Yeah,
but
I thought
MADabolic.
So. Yeah, mad.
And it's like, I've done it a few times, and it's like you get to do a punching bag. There's like the skier machines, there's bikes, there's kettlebells, pull-ups, jump ropes. You're not doing it all at the same time, but they mix in different interval sets to really like mix it up and have fun every single time.
Yeah, they work on a work to rest ratio along with the type of movement, whether it's body weights or whether it's kettlebells or ring planks or machines. And I stepped in there at one of my heaviest weights and was absolutely terrified.
Did you weigh yourself?
Yeah, I weighed, at the time I had been to a doctor, I think, for just my regular physical. So I was 190 something pounds, 192 or something like that. But I'm 5'10", and I carry that weight pretty evenly. So I was just overall kind of a big person for me. And the lowest weight I'd ever been in my life was 150, and the highest I'd ever been was in high school. I was 210. So I had lost the initial weight the first time when I just walked and worked in a plant, and I just never stopped moving.
Cool.
But not for like a program. So when this came about, and here I am in my, 40 years old at the time, I guess, 40 something. What am I, 42? I was 40, 44, 45 when I started MAD. So I go to MAD. I have no idea what I'm doing. They turn the music up really loud. The trainer told me to put the weights down because my form was terrible. He worked with me on the form, and I came back. And then I came back again. And then I met these amazing people. And every time I would come, I would get more excited. I would leave with more energy than I came with. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done for myself. And I made new friends, and I lost weight. Well, I lost sizes. And then eventually, after about a year, I realized I was like 2 sizes smaller and had to buy new clothes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Even my yoga clothes didn't fit, which is insane because they're stretchy.
Yeah, stretchy and tight. Yeah.
And in total, in the first year and a half with MADabolic, I lost 3 full sizes. And now it's more like my body is just continuing to change because they have standard movements they do all the time, certain lunges and things. But then they'll incorporate a new interval with time, work, rest. They'll incorporate a new movement you've never done before. It's pretty fascinating, and it's throughout the year. It just changes. I go in there never knowing what's going to happen. It's always mixed up. And I don't believe it's about muscle confusion. We are repeating some of the same movements. Yeah. We're not always doing it in the same time, work, or effort, or weight, because the elements can go up or down in weight. And I added that. I kept my yoga, and I added that, and here I am 2.5 years later, and I'm 3 sizes smaller. And I have more energy, and I feel amazing, and my yoga practice is the best it's ever been, and I have some of the best friends I've ever known in my entire life right now. And I share that experience with I drag everybody with me.
That's awesome. So like, just, yeah, like what has fitness done for you? Like, you kind of just said it, but how has it changed your life?
People. So I think there's that point where you decide when something doesn't serve you, do you keep it? Is that a person? Is that a job? Is it a car? You know, what is it? Is it a pair of shoes? And over these last 3 years, I've shed people who didn't serve me because they were those people that continued to tell me I was fine where I was.
Ooh.
In the MAD group that I have found, the people that came there that I first met, they didn't say that. They'd say, try it this way. Maybe bump up in weight this. They would challenge me. And then it was like, wow, this is really amazing and it's effective and they're supportive and it's fun. And I just completely fell in love with it. It changed my attitude because I was coming out of a very deep funk after a divorce, having 2 kids on my own. My ex-husband, up until 10 days ago, had not seen our children in a few years. So I was really on my own when this happened. So it was an outlet for me to reduce my stress, change my body and my mind. It helped me sleep better. It just added so much in my life that I am not willing to compromise that for anyone.
So freaking get out, do something. Fitness, let's go. It's a life changer.
And even here, like anywhere in Greenville, you can find, you can do 10 days for $10 at MAD. If you email me, I'll give you a code and you can do it for free because I have a code because I've been working with them as an ambassador, bringing people on because I believe in the program. I'm a walking testament to it.
You are.
But there's places you can go. The I can't afford it does not work anymore. You can go for $5 or $10 or try it for free. You could try things for a year before you ran out of places to try in Greenville right now. But even MAD, it opened the door for other things. OrangeTheory came here. Cycle Bar has come here. All of this just in the last 2 years, I think. 3 years.
Yeah, I came at the right time.
Yeah, we didn't have all of this. There's Shred now. There's just so many places. But MADabolic has my undying love for the rest of my life. Their program is flat out amazing.
That's awesome. Shout out to MADabolic, the gym. All right, so we've come to the segment in the show that I call Scroll My Soul. So what that means is you can see my notes on my laptop. So in my phone, from conversations, podcasts, books, just any inspirational thought, I write down things that I'm learning. And then I randomly scroll through, and then I pick, and then I read it, and then I ask you to say what you think of it. Cool? It's just any experience that it reminds you of, just however you resonate, let me know. So what I stopped on for you, it says, it doesn't matter what people think or say about you unless you decide that it does. It doesn't matter what people think or say about you unless you decide it does.
I think that makes me think about everybody has an opinion about stuff and about people, about me. But it's what you decide to do with that information that matters. There's some information you should probably keep. And there's information maybe that doesn't serve you, so you can let that go. And then there's other information that you're not sure what to do with. You really should set that to the side and let it simmer. And one day it might come back and be a place where you say, I can address that. And for me, it also means that I don't live my life for other people. I live it for me, kind of unapologetically me. And not in a way that's obnoxious or hurtful, but in a way that serves me and my family. And for those who want to take the ride with me, I would stick with them through thick and thin. And you can ask my friends, that's just how I am.
That's awesome.
So it's important to know yourself, to get to know yourself, to understand when you're changing and what you need to do to get through it. And then sometimes be okay with the fact that you don't know the answers. But one day that answer might come and it's going to lead to something new. And just be unapologetically you.
Boom. Okay, Hope. What else would you tell the world? Anything on your thoughts right now, just that you're feeling that you want to make sure people know or feel or think?
I think you should never assume or judge other people you meet or see because you don't know what they've walked through. And that's really one of the most important things I tell my children. It's the book and not the cover. Like, don't judge that book by its cover. Make sure you understand. And if you don't know, ask.
Read that book. Ask.
Yes.
Find
ask.
out. Listen.
And sometimes somebody asks me occasionally a simple, how are you today? And some days I look and I go, I'm not really good, but thanks for asking. It's okay to not always be okay.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, Hope, thank you. This was awesome. Thanks for doing this. Thanks to Frigid Cryotherapy in Greenville, like Normatech, getting our legs worked on.
So good.
So the benefits of this, I'm reading it off a board in the room. So accelerates recovery time, lactic acid and lymphatic flushing, removes toxins, reduces inflammation and water accumulation, increases circulation and blood flow, helps prevent and eliminate first stage varicose veins. Dang. So we're getting it all right now.
I never even read that last bullet point. That's great.
No, honestly, like when I see that, like, when I see some older men with that, like on their legs, I'm like, I do not want that. Like, I'm still going to love myself, but I don't want that.
Try to avoid it.
Yeah. So here I am. I'm avoiding it. Well, Hope, for real, thank you. You're the bomb. I'm so happy to know you. Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you, Ben. I appreciate being here.
Yep.
Thanks.
Adios. What's up, y'all? I hope you enjoyed that interview with Hope. I hope you have some positive takeaways to apply to your life. And this week's inspiration is inspired by the fitness team, the fitness gym, the organization that changed Hope's life, MADabolic. And this gym, it is incredible. It's not all over the world, but it is in Greenville, South Carolina. It is in a few places around here, a few cities. But the inspiration, the challenge this week is to try a new fitness activity, one that you've never done before. So it could be yoga, it could be high intensity, it could go to OrangeTheory, some cycle gym, or just lifting weights if you've never done that before. The reason being is you don't know if you're just doing the same thing over and over and over again. You can be stuck in a rut. Trying something new like this, it can jumpstart your creativity, and you might meet someone new, like in this area, in this gym, in that fitness arena. So try a new fitness formula that you've never done before. So there are a few ways you can report back once you complete the challenge. You can post on Facebook or Instagram using #challenge. Tag me in your stories. I love to see when you guys tag me in your stories and you send messages. It makes my day, and I can repost it. Or you can use the Goalink hotline. So the hotline is designed for those who want to remain anonymous, or you don't have social media, which if you don't, shout out, but still desire a form of accountability. So to use the hotline, call 385-626-0525 and follow the instructions. My name is Ben. We do weekly challenges, weekly podcasts, trying to really embrace life, embrace the challenge, learn, grow, evolve, love. That's what it's about. This is the Goalink Show. I love you all. Have a killer week.